Sports Dump. Let's ride. Welcome back to Lewis County's only sports podcast, sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Global Septic, and AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. I'm Aaron Van Tile, joined tonight by Chronicle sports editor Alec Dietz and Chronicle sports reporter Josh Kirschenbaum. It is Wednesday, January 18th. And how are we feeling about the sports?
They're dumping.
Yes. They're good.
You guys are so enthused.
They're good. It's been good. I've had a good time recently.
Alec is fired up because I told him I saw Babylon and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Of course you did. I was expecting it. No, I've been horrified when people are like, oh, yeah, I'll go see it. And then I'm like, oh, what if they don't like it? Because I really liked it.
It was so much fun. It was just so,
Don't worry.
wild.
I will never do that to you.
Yeah. You should watch it.
No.
It's good.
Maybe when it comes to VOD, Josh will sit down and enjoy, just immerse himself in old Hollywood for 3 hours. Yeah, our first section here. Chris White hit 100.
Yeah.
He got the C note in the Dubs column.
It's a lot of wins.
A lot of wins.
Do you like a lot of wins like you like a lot of points?
Yeah.
You had to think about that for a second.
I don't like him much as I like a lot of points.
You don't like people being that successful?
No, let somebody else have some fun.
Yeah.
WFOS beat White River 87-73 on Saturday. Coach Chris White hit 100. He was honored before the Bearcats game against Shelton on Tuesday. Oh, okay. I thought they were honoring him before the game against White River. And like, well, that's
This will be.
That's a flex. On the road, too.
Yeah.
Hold up. We can start in a sec. I just want you to know that when we beat you.
This is almost certainly going to be number 100. They held on for a 50-47 win for number 101 against Shelton on Tuesday. This is his 8th season in Chehalis. This will be his 4th straight winning season. Is that already guaranteed?
Is it?
They're 10-3 now, and they
11-3.
11-3.
Well, his 4th straight regular season winning, definitely then. I guess you could still lose all the rest of your games and then lose 2 playoff games, and then it would technically be a losing season if you're counting it like that. I'm not really sure how to count it.
But I think if he lost the rest of his games, they would not make the district playoffs. So.
Oh, interesting. What a conundrum.
Yeah. Tank.
His overall record is 101-69. It's the 3rd most wins by WFOS coach. Tom Smith has 213. Ryan Robertson has 163. And
What do you remember about Tom Smith as coach at WFOS?
Didn't he win a state title in the 60s?
Yeah, that was like when you were in high school, right?
That was when I was just getting my start in the sporting game. And Ryan Robertson, of course, is now in Tenino.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, any other thoughts on Chris White, the Bearcats?
No, just a cool achievement. Get honored for it. Not a lot of coaches, go for that long.
Yeah,
so.
You got to stick around at a place that long to do
right.
it. Along with success, I know that sort of looking at their year-to-year schedule, he took a bit to get going there, but it seems like he's kind of found his system that works, and he's got a group of guys that are taking him places.
Yeah, and he did take him to a state championship game a couple years ago. They lost to, I want to say Linden?
Probably
a good bet.
Probably. Anyway, yeah, they had a good
Maybe
team.
they'll get back there this year. We shall see.
Yeah, it could happen. You never know.
They will need to get it back. I mean, I didn't see that game against Shelton, but that sounded like it should have been a slightly less competitive game, and then Shelton just didn't quit and kept coming back. And I think they scored like 20 points in the 4th quarter.
It sounds like it wasn't very competitive until all of a sudden it kind of was. So that kind of happens.
Soren Dalen scored 24 points. Tyler Klatouche was not in the lineup.
Yeah, knee injury.
So that'll be something to watch going forward.
He's coming back soon.
If he can come back. Okay.
Yeah.
He is coming back?
Yeah. The coaches told me. He's coming back at some point. It's a minor knee issue.
Okay. This podcast brought to you by Global Septic, providing septic service and portable sanitation solutions for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grays Harbor County. Are you guys bummed out that it's winter and all your sporting events are indoors and thus you are not able to enjoy a Global Septic portable sanitation station?
Yes.
I thought so.
Yes.
Global Septic provides septic pumping, inspection, riser installation, commercial septic pumping, grease trap services, and of course, rents you porta potties and portable sinks. Visit Global Septic, GOEBEL septic.com, or call them at 360-736-2167. Next news item. And this is news to me. I did not know this had occurred. Adna has found its football coach.
Yeah.
They announced Tuesday, that's yesterday, that they had hired Goldendale's Aaron Cochran as their new head football coach. He was at Goldendale from 2018 to 2022. He compiled a record of 23-24, but went 17-5 over the past 2 seasons. The Timberwolves made it to state for the first time since 2010, and their first time as a 2B team this season, losing to Raymond South Bend in the first round. Adna's coming off a 5-6 season under one-year interim coach Jason Dunnigan. The Pirates only scored multiple touchdowns in 4 games and scored 13 points in the final 4 weeks of the season. Adna graduates 11 seniors from last fall's team, including everyone who earned first or second team all C2BL honors. They will return starting quarterback Lane Johnson. But beyond that, a lot of new faces in the lineup. What do you guys know anything else about Aaron Cochran? What's his deal?
I know they run a pretty tough physical sort of system over there. I'm sure it's not going to look the exact same when he's at Adna, but I know talking to Luke Salmi the other day about the hire, he said he's just excited for someone to kind of come in and mix things up a little bit, change what they kind of do. I think the program's probably been a little bit stagnant, over the past couple of years. They really haven't been relevant at the state stage in a couple of years. So looking for someone to make the team tough, to be able to, match up with the Onalaskas, the Napa Vines, the C2B is it's
a meat grinder.
It's driven on tough.
Every game is a dogfight.
It's driven on the tough teams. And I think, what last year kind of showed with their team was their offense in particular wasn't really that tough. They got pushed around a lot. So, and then they also chose to go with a sort of an outsider, still from the state of Washington, coach over more local candidates. I'm not going to share who I know was there because I don't know. Who knows if I'm allowed to say anything. But there were local candidates that, applied and, they chose to go with someone that would kind of come in and mix things up a little bit, which I think that program kind of needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I think the interesting thing is what's going to happen on offense. Well, the first thing is he needs to bring back the blue jerseys because those black jerseys are no. The second thing is this offense. I think Adna was the team to me that had the biggest gap between watching them, how good they could have been and how good they were, and a lot of that is toughness. But I think there was a lot of potential that just didn't get realized last year,
especially offensively.
Their
defense was pretty stout.
Watching them obviously take on a super overmatched White Swan team. What was it, week 2 or 3? Was one of the most fast paced, over the top, chunk yardage offensive performances I've seen, and I mean even compared to watching the Toledos and Anis go against completely overmatched teams. When they were doing what they wanted to do, they looked really good, and they just couldn't find that for the rest of the season. And you look at, I haven't watched Goldendale, but looking at their numbers, obviously they're not playing the C2BL schedule in their league, but they were scoring. I think they hit 40 points in half their games last year. So, his offense knows how to score points, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly they get to his system and how quickly they get that down, and how they can then turn around against the toughest team in the toughest league in the state of Washington.
Absolutely. This podcast also brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery. Did you guys know?
Send their stats to is Cochran.
Yeah, send it over to Aaron Cochran. He can apply for his Synchrony Home credit card, get promotional financing on all the new furniture for his new home.
Maybe sit back and watch some Babylon.
Yeah, sit back, fire at Babylon and be like, this is going to be our offense. Just propulsive, fast-paced, just a mile a minute.
An elephant?
I
just know about the elephant.
A lot of elephant shit.
It is a jump scare.
It was, and then it, never mind.
Yeah.
What a picture.
But if you theoretically needed to furnish a new home in Adna with plenty of, I don't know, do they sell whiteboards? Can you draw up plays?
Yeah, probably.
Something big with a lot of space, a lot of seating for your players, a nice home movie system to play film for them.
Well, probably sell you a nice cot to sleep in the office.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, just
Check
grind
their
and
website.
tape.
Do they have cots?
Probably. A nice entertainment center to grind tape on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery. Check out their showroom at 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia. Give them a call, 807-1211.
Tell them Aaron Cochran sent you.
Yeah, or visit
Don't say that.
elamshf.com. Check out their deals online. A couple notable results from the last week. Adna boys beat Chief Leshai at Lower Columbia at the MLK Day Classic.
Yeah.
Holiday tribute.
Yeah, 62-58. Seth Meister had 21. Braden Salmi and Lane Johnson, 11 each. The Pirates pass a late season district test. You guys were down there for this, right?
Yeah. First of all, shout out LCC again. They put on a really good show. Second year in a row for me going there.
Yeah.
And it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They, sort of a back and forth game. It was a weird game because both those teams do pretty much exactly the same thing. They want to play 100 miles a minute and, up and down the court, playing transition and all that stuff. And it was just a slog in the first half. I mean, I think the halftime score was like 23-22 or something. It was pretty ugly. And then Adna eventually started kind of picking up steam. They actually had a size advantage in this game. And, Lane Johnson, was probably the tallest player on the court for most of the game and sort of started to assert himself down low. So they eventually pulled away, but you go back to the toughness conversation with Adna. I think, Solmi said after the game, if we want to be one of the last 5 teams, in the district tournament, we got to be tougher. Chief Leshai is probably the number 1 team in the Pacific right now. I know Iwako is also very good. And then you have 5 legitimate state contending teams at least in the Central 2B. So there's going to be teams to get left out, and if Adna doesn't want to be one of them, they that game, always happy to come out with a win, but that game sort of serves as a reminder that this is when it starts getting kind of serious.
Right. Another big one. The Napavine girls beat Adna, also down at LCC.
Yep.
First time since 2018. 52-43 was the final. Tigers are in the driver's seat for a league championship.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Probably the first time they've had one of those since also 2018.
Yeah. Josh Fay told me the last time they beat Adna, Molly Olson was on the team and all that.
That would have been about right. Morgan Hamilton had 18. Napavine held Adna without a field goal for the game's final 12 minutes. Went on a 25-7 run after trailing by 8.
The day after I write that really long article about how many weapons Adna has.
Yeah, that was wild.
They took that shit personally.
Yeah. They didn't make a shot for 12 minutes of game time. I mean, that is an absurd. I had Chris Terabaki sitting next to me doing stats, and I was just like, "When's the last time Adna's made a shot?" He was like, "I have no idea. I'll get it to you after the game because his system couldn't do the live stuff." But it was wild, and that's a huge win for Napavine, a program that is used to kind of competing for league championships and has been a little bit down over recent years. Yeah. And is still really young, but, to beat an Adna team, kind of to get the monkey off your back a little bit, they're probably going to end up seeing him again. So you don't want to get too happy, but that's a big win for that program and a battle between 2 top 5 teams in the state by most polls.
And it's kind of cool to see Schutz, who was the coach there, he was probably the coach there when Banish was in high school.
Yeah, he said this year was his 20th year total of coaching. So
yeah, he
being the head coach
took him to state. I think they took him to a state championship game back in 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. He always coached him up and had a really competitive team, and it's nice to see him kind of get him back in there. And Napavine Adna being a competitive top of the league standings rivalry is that's cool. That's fun.
That's what you want. Yeah, for sure. It was a good environment over at LCC and it was a really good competitive game. I could definitely see a rematch of those teams in districts for sure.
Who is the home team in that one?
Napavine. So Napavine gave up a home game to play that at LCC.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because
would have been a better environment in Napavine.
It was great at LCC. I have zero complaints about that. But I think, like we said last week, Adna has a bunch of players that are either being recruited or have already signed to play at LCC, and Napavine doesn't have any. So,
that makes sense. Banish was the starting point guard at LCC for a couple years.
But I mean, like, why did Napovine give up a home game to, as a favor to some Adna players that are going to play there next
Lucas
year?
Meyer was really happy about it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is it's kind of a showcase, I guess, for your players. So if you're like Morgan Hamilton, you're a senior on the Napovine team and you're trying to get recruited, that was probably a pretty good case on LCC's court. So, cool game. I had no problem with it being at LCC.
As long as you didn't have a problem with it, then.
Well, clearly Napovine and Adna didn't either. So
I don't know.
What does Josh's opinion matter?
Not at all. You sure Adna liked it? I don't know if they liked the outcome.
They did.
Did you
I
guys
talked to Banish after the game? They wanted it to be there.
On your adventure down to Longview, did Josh show you all the hot spots to get dinner and you guys go get a nice burger, go over to Nips or something?
He left after his games.
That's not true.
Did you? Did you just go to your Longview home? Also from the LCC showcase, Tumwater finally beats a higher classification team. They beat 4A Skyview 63-61, and Luke Brewer had 26 points.
Talking about my Longview home, this was great because I was just talking to Wilson after the game and in the halls at LCC's gymnasium, and a bunch of people came over and be like, "Hey, it's good to see you, Josh," and both of us would be like, "Oh, you too, man."
Because you're both named Josh.
Yeah,
right?
it is. And we both were in Longview. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a really good game. It was a lot like their game against Timberline. They fell into a 20-8 hole, 30 seconds into the second quarter. Skyview has some dudes, and Tumwater took its time to get going, and it kind of settled into this pattern where starting the second quarter, Tumwater would go on a run, and Skyview would always answer. Tumwater got it down to 3 points in the second, and by halftime it was 7, and then straight out of halftime, Luke Brewer hit 4 huge shots in a row to take a quick lead, and then Skyview poured 10 in a row. And then going into the fourth, they finally put it all together. They pulled a run, they got some stops, they finally got the lead, I think, with a minute left. And yeah, this was a really big character win. Brewer had a huge game. Andrew Collins had a huge game. Tanner Brewer had a couple huge offensive rebounds. This was, the type of game that is sort of a state atmosphere against a state level team. I mean, Skyview is kind of outside the top 10 in 4A, but that makes them a, top 4 in state, probably 2A team.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then Napovine boys lost to Tudor Lake. It's their first league loss.
Probably the first upset of the season.
Upset. Yeah. I sort of saw something like that coming, but sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is that what you guys felt when you lambasted me for saying Tudor Lake would be in the district finals?
Tudor Lake has beaten the Napovine boys 3 times in a row. I could have predicted that was going to happen. Okay. I think Tudor Lake's kind of got Napovine's number.
The Tigers were in foul trouble. Carson Denault played just 11 minutes, only had 1 point. James Gross had 27, and Zach Swanson scored 37 for Tudor Lake, 11 from the free throw line.
The one I heard Tarabakia told me was that Cale Kimball had, no, not Cale Kimball. Who's their big guy?
Lundquist?
Hunter Lundquist had 19, and I think he played 28 minutes. And if they
had another kid score 15 too.
Yeah, and Connor Cox put some in, but
he only had 8.
Yeah.
Who's the other kid that's kind of big?
Nicholson?
It might have been Nicholson that had 14 or 15.
Yeah, but if Tudor Lake can have a post presence, that's new, and also I don't know if I want to say scary, but that's something that could actually turn them into a team that does this more than once.
Well, I think for Napovine too, if Denault gets in foul trouble, they have to sort of dramatically change how they play because Jack Nelson comes in and he's of a Keith
pure
Olsen.
Post, yeah.
It doesn't run the floor like Carson Denault does, which is kind of what they like to do when he's in there. So, I think that's something Napovine is going to have to adjust to if Denault has a hard time staying on the floor with foul trouble is, maybe trying to slow it down a little bit more or just adjusting things. So that it's an interesting result for sure. But also, I like Tudor Lake beat him at state last year, and I think they might have beat him in the district tournament too. So they've kind of got their number right now.
And not to make not to make the segment too long, but the one other notable result that just came in: Toledo girls beat Wahkiakum.
Oh yeah,
that was I know Wahkiakum is definitely on the down, just numbers wise, talent wise. Adna beat them 82-26 or something like that. It was ugly.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't put it in there.
But Toledo is also 4 days removed from not having enough players to field a team.
Yeah.
And hasn't gotten a ton of big wins. I mean, I remember watching them in the district title game against Wahkiakum, and that was 2 years ago, and it also wasn't close. Like,
Yeah.
We're sort of at the point with like Kalama football over the fall. Like, it's still Wahkiakum girls basketball. You beat them.
They're defending league champs.
Yeah, they're still defending league champs. Pretty much everyone hasn't beaten them for 2 or 3 years now, and it's notable. So good for the Riverhawks.
Poll update on the boys' side. In the 2As, Tumwater holds steady at number 7. WF West did not receive votes for the first time this year. In the 2B boys, Davenport still number 1. Morton White Pass still number 3. Though they're number 2 on the RPI board, they dropped a spot.
Uh-oh.
Adna is number 7, and Napfine is number 8. Wahkiakum is number 9, and Chief Lesha and Tudor Lake are receiving votes. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 C2, well, District 4 teams. And how many does D4 get to stay this year? 4 or 5? 5? 5. Okay.
It's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a good team that gets left out.
I think there's 6 teams there. I think 4 of them will make it, and then there will be one wild card that sneaks in.
That isn't one of those 6?
Yeah.
Like who?
I don't know. It's just weird things always happen.
Raymond?
Like Toledo?
Somebody's going to get hot.
Iwako?
Sure.
I think...
Iwako beat Adna. People forget that.
Adna beat Iwako.
Oh.
Iwako beat
Iwako.
Wow. I think out of those, Leschi is probably the odd one out, having watched them.
Leschi soundly beat Iwako earlier this year.
But it's
out of the teams that are on.
Oh, sure, on that list.
Yeah,
sure.
on that list, I think.
But the way the bracket is set up,
yeah,
it'd be really hard for one Pacific team to not make it.
For one of their top 2 seeds not to get through.
Like, their path is going to be set up as such that, I mean, they would have to get upset by a team that's not very good for them not to make it. So like normally, like during volleyball season, for example, there's no matter how bad the league is over there, someone will kind of make it just because even if they get sent to the losers bracket, they'll play all those teams they beat up on.
I mean, yeah. So the top 2 teams from the East 2 league get a bye, so that would set them up against the Central 2B number 3.
I would have to look at the bracket in front of me, but either way, I think that if I were to guess the split, I think 4 are going to come from the Central and 1's going to come from the Pacific. So it'll come down to Leschi or Iwako, and it could be either. And then I think either Wahkiakum, Toodle, Adna are probably fighting for those spots. I think Napavine and Morton White Pass are safe, but
we'll see. So they're playing
maybe
tonight.
It depends on the bracket.
Yeah, tonight's the interesting one. So Morton White Pass is playing Napavine tonight, and then I think that Adna Wahkiakum game. Those are 2 teams that both lost to both of those top other 2 teams. It's kind of
if this were a holiday tournament featuring MWP, Napafine, Wahkiakum, and Adna would be playing for 3rd place today.
Yeah, yes. And I think the interesting thing is how close. Like if that game is not close in one direction or another, I think it kind of changes my perception. Especially if Adna beats Wahkiakum soundly, which could happen.
Sure. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
In the 1B boys, Oakville number 5, Mossy number 7, Valley number 8.
I know. I don't know.
Interesting.
SB Live has Oakville at 4.
I expected that to be a different order.
Yeah, SB Live has Oakville at 4, and I think people are just copying over that because, sorry, SB Live, Oakville is not the 4th best team in the state.
All right, we'll see. On the girls' side, in the 2As, WF West remains number 3. Tumwater drops to number 9.
After beating a 3A team.
Bearcats, do you feel like they're the 3rd best team in the state?
Sure.
Could be.
All right.
I don't know.
That Montesano win looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the Monty win looks good. They do have losses to Seaholm, who's in the mix in there, and Linden, who's ahead of them. So I don't think they're like an overwhelm. Like last year, I think they were number 3, number 4 for most of the year. And it's like, yeah, that's a top 5 team. They're going to beat pretty much anyone that's below them. They're just going to have a hard time against the teams that are above them. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
This year, I don't.
Just a lot of youth and inexperience.
They're number 3, but they could lose to number 10. They could lose to number 8 or whatever if they have an off night. So, I put them in number 3 on my board based on their resume. But, would I be surprised if they don't trophy at state, for whatever reason, just because that's sometimes the way the bracket works? No.
The 2B girls, Napavine moves up all the way to number 2. They're tied with Okanagan. Colfax is number 1. Adna drops to 4. Rainier to 6. Where'd you guys put Napavine?
I saw that.
I put him at 3.
So that Napavine was 2. Okanagan was also 2, but had 2 first place votes, which meant that a lot of people were putting them at like 3 or 4 as opposed to Napavine, which didn't get any first place votes.
Right.
So everybody was putting him at 2.
Okay.
I have Colfax 1, Okanagan 2, Napavine 3. Adna 4.
The 1B girls, Mossy Rock is number 3, and Willapa Valley got some votes. That's fine.
Good for them.
Yeah. I put Valley in my top 10. I was probably the only one too. So
that's why they're receiving votes.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. Once again, I implore you, if you are feeling too hot or too cold, well, request an appointment. Maybe don't call the emergency line unless it's,
Why
an extreme
advertise something
situation.
that they don't want you to use?
360-273-3300 is their 24/7 emergency service line. I guess it's 24/7, so you can call it like at noon.
Just call them and be like, yo, I'm not hot right now, but I'm worried I might be later.
Like, I'm not hot right now. Could you help me out? And they would be like, you got a gym membership? What are you eating? You got some nice clothes? Open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their office is 21822 Old Highway 99, north of Centralia. And you can visit them west.americoolonline.com. Your comfort is their business. They offer full service HVAC installation services and repair with a 100% guarantee. And good games coming up tonight. Big ones tonight. Morton White Pass at Napavine Boys. Who you guys got?
Oof. I don't know. I think it's a toss-up. Napavine at home is a tough team to beat.
Is Napavine a tough place to play, though? Is it?
I think it is not because the gym is weird,
It's
but
just
it gets
loud.
loud in there. It gets I
you're right,
get
it does get
warnings
loud.
on my watch that the decibel levels are too high, and I'm like,
What
shut
settings
up.
do you have on your watch that tell you that?
I don't know.
What kind of what?
It's cool.
Jesus, what is it?
Yeah, it's cool to get that and be like, it's like loud in this gym, you know?
Do your ears not work? What?
No, it's like like when the decibels reach like 100 decibels or whatever.
What does it tell you? Like to go outside or what?
No, it just says the decibels are high.
Turn Babylon down.
Yeah, I think I might have gotten the warning during that actually. But anyway, it gets loud in there. I think that makes it a tough place, but not like the gym isn't weird. It's not like Wakayakum.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the only weird thing is because they got the weight room like directly overhead. I remember I was at a girls' game and everybody's there and standing up and cheering, and I looked up and I think Cale Stanley and like Carson Denault were just like
pumping iron.
Yeah, just doing bench presses and watching the game. Like
That's
tri
awesome.
presses over their head, like overlooking the
Just flexing on them,
yeah,
literally.
Exactly.
Okay. Wakayakum and Adna boys.
Yep. Big. We talked about it just recently.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. And then Tootle Lake at Toledo. I would imagine Tootle's the favorite here, but
Yeah, but I think that's a classic trap. Toodle's coming off a huge win over Napavine. They have to go to Toledo, an improving Toledo team that's just kind of scrappy and are still looking for that signature win. So yeah, I would expect Tootle Lake to win this game, but I still think
They got Morton on the horizon.
Right, it just could be sort of an
Friday night,
interesting
isn't it?
little trap game there for Tootle Lake. So I think that's going to be an interesting.
Toledo's going to want to probably slow it down. If you
Yep.
can keep Cooper Fallon sort of going down low, they're not going to match him shot for shot.
They do need to match him shot for shot, I think. They need Connor Olmsted to hit some threes. They need Rogan Stanley to hit some threes, Kevin Winters. They have the capability, but just all those guys haven't had a good shooting night at the same time. But for sure, they don't want the game to be played in transition where Zach Swanson would kill them.
I mean, the thing with Toledo is it always seems they're close at the end of the first quarter.
It always seems they're close at the end of the third, and then the fourth, it just kind of slips away.
They're always they need to avoid that one bad run.
all right, Thursday night, Nacelle at Mossy Rock Boys and Rainier at Adna Girls. Which of those two would you be more excited about?
Rainier, Adna girls.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
And
Mossy's going to win by a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I feel like if Mossy Rock is building a big lead, they're not going to take their foot off the gas.
Probably
Tom
not.
Kelly's a big, just keep scoring guy.
Yeah. I also think they don't love Nacelle. So
No, they don't. That's a recipe for running it up. And to Tom's credit, like he will be the first to admit that, like, if my team was on the other end, we would fully expect you to kick our asses as well. We welcome it. Friday night, Tudor Lake at Morton White Pass boys in Morton.
I believe so.
Really? Wait, that's
Yeah.
Friday?
It's Friday night.
Oh, my God.
Thinking about going.
Yeah, one of us should go. Man, going to Morton twice in one season? When's the last time the Chronicle's done that?
I don't know.
You're the
Yeah.
Morton
Chad
guy.
Kramer, get us those stats.
You're the Morton guy, so
And then Mossy Rock at Nacelle girls. All
I expect this one to be slightly closer than the boys' game, but probably still not that close.
right. Saturday, Oakville at Rainier boys.
Interesting
non-league
game. Alec is not impressed, and I think this one could be fun.
Yeah,
Maybe.
could be.
I don't know. Rainier, I don't know. Rainier's another one of those teams that
Rainier's a
hasn't
wild
kind of
card.
won that like signature game yet. Sure,
They
they're
also
a wild card like Toledo's a wild card.
Well, they're a wild card in that they haven't had their starting lineup since like mid-December.
Sure, but even when they did, it's not like they were beating, and even then, like Oakville too, I'm sort of a little less impressed with Oakville than it was at the beginning of the year. So
Also, the Bearcat Invite, big wrestling tournament in Chehalis. A lot of teams going to be there.
And we have covered wrestling this week.
A lot of wrestling going on. Daniel Matagi, pretty good.
we'll be there. Oh, he announced he's going to Central for football.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. So Chronicle All Area MVP found a new
Gets a
home.
scholarship.
Yeah. And then Monday, Valley plays at Morton White Pass. Is that boys basketball?
Yes.
Okay, could be fun.
Was
And
that
then
boys?
Yes.
Okay.
Tuesday,
They played at the JQP
Jack Q.
Memorial
Pearson Holiday Classic
Holiday. Let's have some fun
Tournament.
experience.
Yeah.
And then-
more than one by a lot.
Yeah. And then Tuesday, Morton White Pass at Rainier's at girls.
Yes. Another one of those like middle of the pack seating.
Yeah.
Well, and MWP is, looking to. So I think we've talked about this in the past episodes, but the district bracket's only the top 12 teams. So, the seeding for that kind of middle of the pack game matters a lot. And if MWP can spring an upset and move up to 4, instead of 6 or 7, obviously that's going to help you. So, you can't look past anyone in the Central 2B.
Wow.
I hear it's a meat grinder.
It's a meat grinder. Everybody's saying that.
You really can't, though. Well, maybe some people, some teams that will not be named
In some sports.
in some sports, but like I think anywhere from 7 up, you really, you got to be locked in.
Anything else you guys want to add before we sign off?
I was just channeling my inner Chris Banish there.
Yeah. All right.
Anything can happen in the Conference of Champions.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys next week.